Welcome to Grow My Etsy Shop podcast, the drips of knowledge you need to start growing. Hey, welcome. So this week I got a message from someone, and this message said, Jared, I have received $10,000 from my dad for my business. What do you think I should spend that $10,000 on? And I loved this question because it has you lean back in your chair and think for a second. I love this question because it positions the way you view what growth looks like. So much of us look at growth and we think like, oh, this is where most people kind of land, which is like, if I just get more traffic, I will get more sales. That's the belief system. So I have a great product, I have a great system, I have a great everything. If I just got more eyeballs, if Etsy just showed me to more people, that's how I would grow my business. So if I slid $10,000 across the table to you and said, then get more traffic, where would you put it? Suddenly is this now, let's go a little bit deeper here. What if you took your own $10,000? Because $10,000 could buy you traffic. Are you going to get it back? Are you going to put that on black? Are you going to gamble that? Are you going to get more traffic with this? Or are you going to go, oh gosh, I don't know. I might want to tighten up my old website first. Might want to redo the pictures of my listings. Like suddenly your brain starts to change a bit in this scenario. So let's focus on and work our brains around the idea of $10,000 is coming into your store. How would you spend it to get results? So there are different ways that we can look at this. For example, you could take it to Vegas and put it on black and just hope that you double your money and off you go. Or there's ways that you could put into your business that have more dividends that pay throughout time. So, an example of this is you could say, currently I'm buying things that are a bit more, not at wholesale rate, for example. And if I was to buy more at bulk, that would give me my supplies to be cheaper and more of them. And if I'm able to sell those over time, then I would make back my investment. Now, a lot of this is how you're wired. So I tend to be a little bit more risk adverse. That is just a bit more of my personality. However, I do pair up with people who are not risk adverse, who are willing to take big swings because we balance each other very well. I'm a little bit more like, hey, let's look at everything before we take a swing. They're like, dude, I'm already running out the door. And because of that, I benefit that relationship being the one that's like, hey, you might have dropped some things along the way. And they're like, oh man, thanks so much. And then they also are like, come on, Jared, and pull me along. And it's that relationship that kind of works that way. So a lot of how you think in this scenario is going to be whether or not you feel comfortable with risk and want to just shake the dice and see what comes out versus I'm worried about losing my money and I'm worried about putting it on black and yada, yada, yada. So you kind of first need to recognize like, who am I? Where do I feel comfortable? And then from there, pushing yourself or pulling yourself based on that. So if you are a high risk personality, one of the best pieces of advice I can give you is to say, hey, look, I want you to think about what it is that you're wanting. And I want you to look behind you to see what could possibly fall out of your pocket as you're going that direction. So for example, you're like, I'm going to put all $10,000 into social media ads. Here we go. And we're like, that is exciting. That is great. That is guaranteed to give you traffic. But let's look back first. So let's look, do we have the creative that's going to work well enough for this that you're getting your investment back? Because if you just sprint and throw it all into Facebook, but you aren't ready, you can burn that money really quick. Let's look at, are you the person to be running this account? Are you the best person to be spending that kind of money? If you're the personality that's a little bit more risk adverse, then you have to look forward as opposed to backwards. You're going to look backwards. You want to look forward. So you're going to say, look, I don't want this money to just sit here and get cobwebs on it. I want to put it towards something that's going to be exciting and give me what I'm looking for, but then accepting the fact that this is always going to be a risk. And if it was easy, if it was like an ATM machine where you just put it in and it kicks it back out, everybody would do it. So you have to be brave in some areas when you're risk adverse to know that business is about taking risks. And risks can pay off and it can also be a learning experience. And so because I'm this way, I have a more mindset advice this way, in that risk, if you look at something with the, I'm going to give you two pieces of advice here. Here's advice number 1. Risk is either reward or learning. And if you can accept that, because what a lot of people who are risk averse do is they see risk as it's either going to work or I wasn't good enough to get the result, or I made the mistake, or this was, and you want to, it will damn your business if you think this way. If you're just like, I don't want to take risks because I'm not prepared to take a risk. You will never feel 100% prepared to take a risk, ever. And so instead you have to say, I feel like I've looked under the rocks. I feel like I've looked behind and it still feels like a risk to me. But at this point, I'm willing to invest in myself. And whether that is through the money that will land back in my pocket or the learning experience that I'm going to get for this, that's going to help me. Life is long. And if you can learn lessons and see things along the way, you get smarter and you get better at taking risks. You don't stop taking risks. You get better at taking them. So the worst thing that you can do is stay put. Isn't there a quote? I think there's a quote that's like, the biggest risk you can ever take in business is not taking a risk. And so at this point, this is what I love about this exercise that we're doing, is it allows you to kind of playfully take a risk to say, I've got $10,000. Where do I want to spend it? And it will always be a risk. If there's something in your mind right now that isn't a risk, you're like, oh, if I had $10,000, I can make it $20,000 tomorrow. All I need is the money. No risk whatsoever. Call me, because I'll give you $10,000 and I'll take interest. Or, this is a better call to action, get the money and make it happen. If there's no risk, make it happen. But most of us are going to feel like, well, there is kind of a risk to it. And so this is where you have to have that mindset shift with yourself. Here's my second piece of advice for you. And this comes right from experience here. I work with Etsy shops that sometimes they say to me, hey, Jared, I'm looking to increase my sales. I've got 400 sales so far. I've been open a year and I've got 6 laser machines and 27 of these machines. And I got the newest and greatest of this. And I got my air filters all set up. And you're like, oh my gosh, you've spent so much money preparing for growth. And now you're saying to me, nah, I just need to grow. Great. You've just overshot your growth at this point. Like, you don't have to take all of these things. And this falls under the mindset of, if I'm going to launch my shop, I want the perfect logo. I want my website built out. I want to make sure my Amazon stuff done. I want to buy all the domain names. I want to set an email up for myself. Like, no. What you're doing is you're playing shop in that scenario. You're just doing the exciting part, which is getting everything ready, pretending to be a successful business, but you're not quite there yet. And so you have to be willing. There's this great quote that says, if you don't have money, if you're not making livable wage or like consider yourself a business, you should have no shame. Like, meaning you should not be like, oh, I'm worried about what people think about me. I'm worried I won't look professional enough. I'm worried about, like, the answer is like, you shouldn't have any shame. You should be able to do all the things that people would normally have some shame, going door to door. Oh man, feels weird to go door to door and sell my products. Like, if you don't have enough money, no shame. Go door to door. That's the way you want to look at that kind of stuff. There's another great quote that I love from someone else who shares this, and this is the opposite of that, which is, he says, if you have money and you have a problem, you don't have a problem. Meaning, you could spend money to solve your problem. And so he's like, as soon as your business is generating income and you've got money in your bank account and things are working for you and a problem comes up, you solve that problem with your money. You take the money that you have and you put it towards the problem, and you won't have a problem anymore. And it's a great quote. And the person who had this quote, I was working closely with, and this is exactly how he ran his business. And it was great because he just didn't get held back by small things. He just was knowing there's a cost of doing business. He put his money towards it and off he went. So let me give you the advice I want to give here, is that you can overspend on your business, play house with your business and all that kind of stuff. And then from there, you were like, oh, it turns out I don't have the actual thing I need to make me successful. And then there's the opposite, which is that you just take risks without really looking behind you. You're like, I'm just going to throw an Etsy shop up, throw a bunch of stuff up, see what sells. If anyone buys anything, great. If not, whatever, I'll just throw something else up, blah, blah, blah. And I see that style as well. And a lot of that, when I get it and people say to me, hey, I'm not getting anything. And I look at it, I'm like, oh, it's because I have a coined term that I use. I call it halfway mic. Big long story why it's called halfway mic. But halfway mic. When you halfway mic a project, it doesn't get the best results, and then therefore you hold it accountable for not getting the best results. So it's like putting an untrained athlete into a soccer game, and then when they don't give you the result that you're looking for, you say, well, I guess he's terrible at soccer. You're like, well, no, he's not terrible at soccer. He just doesn't have the stamina to be able to run up and down the field. So you have to address what that is. Now, you don't know what that is a lot of times until you put someone into the soccer field, which is why risk can sometimes work for you. You put someone out there and you're like, oh, it turns out he's not in shape, which is why this goes all back to the beginning of when you take a risk, you learn to, you either get money or knowledge. But if you just get a yes or no, that's when you're not taking risk properly. I feel like this episode is going all over the map here, but let me leave you, and I'm not going to leave the episode here. I'm just going to leave you this segment with this piece of advice. This is the best advice I can give people. I say, you want to be one up on your business. This is what this means. I want you to, so if you had a business that, let's just say, was lawn care, and you needed 5 employees to run your lawn care so that you can stay in the office and work, you didn't have to go mow the lawns or anything like that, I would say hire 6 people. Hire 6 people at that stage, or have a person ready to go, or have the funds ready or the systems ready to get a 6th person in very quickly, or the training in, or whatever it is to get a 6th person in quickly. This is the same advice I give Etsy shops when they're at this kind of stage. I say to them, because they're like, man, maybe I'll use $10,000 to buy a new laser. And you go, okay, well, buying a new laser doesn't increase the traffic that you have to your store. So what is your current flow of traffic? What is the fact that you only have one laser holding you back? Or is it just mentally holding you back? Meaning, if I had a second laser, that would force me to get more business, is what we sometimes do. We use that as a motivation thing. So what I say is, look, you want to be in a spot where you have the funds for a second laser, that you have the systems in your business that is structured to bring in income that's falling into a pot that is going to be used for a laser when you are ready for it. That's how you want to look at this. Because now what it is, instead of I'm going to buy a second laser because it's going to motivate me to get traffic, it becomes I'm now saving my money so that I can get a second laser. Instead of the second laser is going to motivate me to get more sales, it's instead I want to get more sales so that I can get more money, so that I can put it into the pot, so that I can buy a second laser. And this is how you want to look at your business. I think I see this often. It happens all the time, is that people have Etsy shops that are inconsistent. And so they see the money that comes in from their shop is like, oh, I made $500 this week. It goes right into my personal account. Oh, I made $5,000 this month. It goes right into my bank account. Oh, I only made $4,000 this month. It goes right into my bank account. And what you want to do is you want to say, how much does it cost for me to operate my business? What is it that I need to draw from this business at a minimum? What is it that would be more comfortable? What would be awesome? And then having it structured in a way. And so I would hope most people have this separate bank account that's money is going into. It's just going to bless you for taxes in general. And then from there, you're drawing from that into your personal account. You're transferring money into your personal account. You're paying yourself from this. And what this does is it allows you to know what you need to be able to run your business, and then it has money in your business. So that way you can draw from that when you need to make these one-up moves in your business. Again, the +1 that I'm referring to. Oh, I need a second laser. Oh, my laser broke. Oh, I want to buy it wholesale instead of just going to Hobby Lobby. So I want to take from my business, bring down the cost that I have. And so again, when we go back to this exercise of what if I had $10,000 in my account today, what would I do? The answer is you can have $10,000 in your account if you can save properly and build that pool up in you. And then when you get into a spot where you know, if I have $10,000, I can put it towards something, then this exercise isn't as dramatic as we think it is. Because yeah, if someone wrote a check and handed you $10,000, suddenly you're like, oh my gosh, I can put this towards in business, and I could buy all these things, or I can finally do this thing, or I can finally whatever. The answer is you can actually do that if you structure your business in this way. If you structure it that even if it's like I'm only putting a couple $100 away, I'm only putting $100 away a month into my business, well, you will eventually have $10,000. And if you can get yourself to $7,000, could you borrow the last 3 if you knew I could pay back that 3? I got something, it may take me time to make my 7 back, but could I get my 3 back? And this is how you can grow your business. So the last thing I want to talk about here is, well, what are some good ideas? If you are I don't want to say struggling Etsy shop, but if you're a shop that gets inconsistent sales, you haven't quite found what you're swinging for yet, the best thing that you can do is invest in products that you can sell on Etsy. So meaning, hey, I'm going to diversify what I'm selling here. I'm going to try some different stuff. I kind of know who my target audience is. I want to reach out with new things with them to see if I can get some winning products. Most people who are successful on Etsy did this. They took money, they invested it into products they think are going to work on Etsy, and they got lucky and one did. And then they learn from that product. Like, oh, people like this, and now I'm getting SEO, now I'm getting all these things, and then they build their business off of this. And so if you're kind of struggling and you're like, I can't find it, this money that can come in can be something that can be very helpful for you in diversifying what you're doing. If you have done this, meaning you are in a spot where you're like, no, I have products that are kind of moving for me and I am selling, but I don't really know what to do from here. This is going to sound somewhat biased, but I believe in education at this stage. And so I followed suit of this. This is what I currently follow suit in my own personal life, which is like, I know how to grow things to a certain spot, and then I just don't beyond that. And so I usually connect with people, or I involve myself in some higher end coaching to be able to help me move the peanut. I just explained this to someone the other day. This comes from an episode of Barney. My sister's Down syndrome. She watched Barney until the cows came home. And there was this episode on Barney where the elephant is trying to move a big thing of peanuts. And he can't do it. It's too heavy. So he ends up falling asleep because it was too heavy. And then this mouse comes through and moves the peanuts one at a time, and while the elephant's asleep. And then when the elephant wakes up, all the peanuts have moved over. What's the moral of the story? Sometimes a bag of peanuts can seem really heavy, but if you move it one at a time, it can be moved. So you always want to spend your life moving the peanut, meaning what am I doing that's at least bringing the peanut over to where I'm at, instead of trying to just move one giant thing at a time. So you've heard me probably say that before. That's the story behind that. So back to this, you've heard the saying, your net worth is who you hang out with, or whatever that saying is. And there's some truth that falls behind this. If you connect yourself, if you go in and you say, look, I'm willing to invest in myself, what happens is you usually surround yourself with people who are in similar positions as you. Surround yourself with people who are motivated getting out of that position, and then surround yourself with people who know how to get out of that position. And those are the three things that you really need to help you get going. Because at that stage, there could be so many different things that you're looking at. It could be like, oh my gosh, if I had a better photographer, I could take better pictures. Oh my gosh, if I knew someone who just knew how to transition from like Etsy to more of a personal website, that would be really helpful for me. There's all different areas that you can go with this. This is actually the perfect time for me to plug what I've got here, because if you're listening to this episode, it is Black Friday today, and I have a Black Friday offer happening today. So for my Black Friday offer for this weekend, what I've got is I redid my entire growth program. So I did the growth report forever, which was working with stores 101. I did 100 of those, made a goal that I would do 100. At the end of 100, I said, I'm going to take what I learned from doing 100 walkthroughs, and I'm going to build the growth program. And I built the growth program, and then I ran stores through the growth program for the last 3 or 4 years, people going through this. So I've had hundreds of Etsy shops go through the growth program, and it's been a very successful thing. But as you know, from around 2021 to, I think that's when it was probably finished, 2021, probably 2022 actually, to today, things have changed. And not only has Etsy changed, but Jared has changed. I have a mastermind group now. I've worked with so much Etsy shops that I've worked with some really, really successful ones, and I've just been able to learn a lot of what I can see what's working just in my own personal life and my own personal journeys of being an online marketer and all that stuff. I'm just better. And so I said, I'm going to go back and redo some of these things, add in some stuff, bring what Etsy's changed, what I've learned, what I see working, what I think some extra modules in this thing that would be really helpful for people. And I've recreated the growth program. And so for me, I've said, all right, I am doing a Black Friday deal that you can come in and get access to this, lifetime access to this new growth program that I have, which I think's amazing. I don't have any feedback on it because no one has been through it yet, but I think it's amazing. And then I also have my school group. It's called the Growth Society that I have. And I've talked about this before, but it's got tons of content in there that's all pre-edited and ready to go. You just type in your question and videos pop up that answer those things. And then it's got the community that's associated with it. And then I go live in these groups. I talk in these groups. There's a calendar that says, hey, on this day at this time, Jared's going to be doing shop walkthroughs. And you get to come in and watch those things, participate in them, the whole thing. So I'm doing 3 months free of a group, my group that you get. plus the growth program, plus calls that are specifically for the growth program within the group. Doing all of those for the next 3 months. It starts in January, ends we'll go January, February, March, so it ends the beginning of April is when that will end. And so if you like what you hear, want to check that out, it's currently 75% off. So it's a good time. It's actually a really good time. You won't find it cheaper. Let me just put it that way. So go check that out. I'd love to. What my goal is to do exactly this, which is to say, instead of people kind of scattered, coming in one at a time, let's just get a bunch of people all in together, and we'll just kind of have a flow of the next couple months of people who want to go through the growth program. We'll just I'll be there to hold your hand and go through the thing, and we'll just kind of do this all together. You'll be in a group. It'll go great. So starts up in January. My deal is now. Go check that out. Okay, so to stay on track, we have our $10,000 plan of I'm not really selling much on Etsy. So we talked about that. Should we be putting our money towards? How should we be thinking? What's our process? We then say, hey, I'm pretty successful Etsy shop, or I'm doing really well. I get consistent sales. What do I put my $10,000 to? We talked about this. Now the last one is, hey, I'm killing it on Etsy. I've got my own stuff. This is really working for me. I'm super, super busy, and life is great. What do I put my $10,000 towards? Help. Systems. Software. Buying a competitor. You can't buy a competitor for $10,000, but you can buy something that's going to help you for $10,000. That's what you need to do at that point. You have to buy your time back. And this is a funny stage of business, and it can be a scary stage of business to buy your time back. This goes back to that guy that says if you have a problem and you have money, you don't have a problem anymore. He recognized that he was the most powerful part of his business. And so many of us do this, but we put ourselves in the creator seat. So we say, well, no one else can make my product. No one else can do my thing. One of the things I have learned as I've worked with Etsy shops is that I've learned that there's a fear of bringing someone into their house. They have a fear of that. I don't want to hire someone because now I go from being able to create ways that I want to create into managing people. And I don't want to manage people. And I think that that's a really broad statement. You don't I was having this conversation with Mariah, my wife, because I was saying, I hear this so often. And she said, Jared, we hired some terrible people. I was like, yes, that is correct. And she's like, when we did that, it was terrible. And I thought to myself, I'm never hiring anybody again. But it takes one good person to completely flip that belief around. When you hire the right person, oh my gosh, you want to have babies with them. That was dramatic. Let me rephrase that. You want to send them on a cruise. You want to sing their names. You want to, you're standing at the gates of heaven, you're like, hold on, let me go back and grab my employee and pull him in with me. Because it is amazing when you have really good employees that you don't have to manage. That's the key. I think so many times we think to ourselves, we get stuck in that phase of like, well, I have to train. I have a great story. Someone has worked with me for the year. They're in my mastermind program. They're a husband and wife duo, and the wife is in charge of shipping. He's in charge of growth. So he's like working like a dog, and you can see the weight of the wife heavier and heavier as the years gone on. And I keep saying to her, you have to hire for fulfillment. You have enough money. You have it all. Go do it. And she's like, well, I just don't know what I would do if I wasn't fulfilling. And I was like, I'll find a spot for you. Trust me. What you don't want to do is be in a spot where you dread the cha-ching noise of your phone. You don't want to go, oh my gosh, I have to make another one of these. Like you'll never grow if that is where your subconscious goes when your phone is going off. So I said to her, I just press. And her whole thing was this. I don't want to manage. I don't want to hire bad. No. And I was just like, set a goal. Let's set a goal. I'm here. Let's do it together. I'll walk you through it. So she eventually, what we had her start doing is that she would pretty much just type what she was doing into ChatGPT. So she'd be like, today I did this, these orders. This is how I fulfilled them, blah, blah, blah. And then she'd be like, oh, I had this weird order or whatever that did this. This is how I solved it. No. So, and then at the very end, once it was all done, she said to ChatGPT, summarize this into a doc that I can give to someone. They summarized it. She printed it out. It was like whatever page is long. They put an ad up. They lived near a university. A college student said, I'll take it. They brought the college student in and they said, great, we're going to be training this person from now to the end of the year, or at least till Black Friday was their hope. They do really well during Black Friday. And so we'll have, a couple months to train her up and get her ready to go. No joke. Within 2 weeks, they messaged me and said, well, they're on my mastermind, so I talk to them all the time. And they said, we're twiddling our thumbs. She's so good at what she does that she's pretty much trained. And we fully trust her. And they are right now doing shows. Because they all of a sudden, when your head comes out of the clouds a bit, or I guess a better way to say it, when your head comes from underwater, that's a good way to look at that, and you come up for air, and you go, oh, someone's doing this for me. I have a personality where I want to grow. I have a personality where I love what I do. I have a personality that wants to be in motion and moving the peanut. I just been stuck in this system down here. They then came up for air and were like, oh, what if we took, because someone's fulfilling for us, we take our products and we go do these events and these shows. And so where are they right now? Today, doing shows. They couldn't have done this a couple months ago because it's freaking Black Friday and the amount of sales that they would be fulfilling is insane. But here they are. And this is a great use of $10,000 in their part. But in this scenario, they're just paying per piece of what it works as they continue to sell at events. That's going to go into fulfillment, which will go into her. Everybody's happy, and they now have a business that is working for them. And this is the pro of this type of mindset. So I get it. I know it. It could be very, very scary thing, but I just want you guys, especially if you're at this stage, to know I have success stories after success stories of people who've recognized, if I can remove myself from day-to-day tasks and can focus on growth, your brain will go there and you will find out how to grow your business, and it will grow. And you can do it without working as hard as you are right now. Okay. Happy Black Friday. Go out there and kill it. This is usually one of my least episodes that get listened to because everyone's busy on Black Friday. So if you're here, you're the true OG. Okay, guys, we'll see ya.